Welcome to the deep dive. Something we've noticed is that you, our listeners, have shown a ton of interest in Japanese culture. And one of the things that really exemplifies that culture that's just endlessly fascinating is the kimono.
Oh, yeah. You really hit the nail on the head with that. When you want to understand Japan, the kimono is the perfect place to start. It's so much more than just clothing, it's like a whole silent language full of hidden meanings. And it's really amazing how much you can learn about the person wearing it, the occasion, and even like little whispers of history.
So in this deep dive, that's exactly what we are going to do. We're going to decode that silent language for you. We've got a whole bunch of great resources that cover everything from the history of the kimono and what all those incredible patterns and colors symbolize to how it's understood and worn in modern Japan.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. It's going to be fun.
Me too. Okay, to kick things off, let's start with a really specific recent example that kind of blew our minds. Remember when Crown Princess Kiko attended King Charles's coronation back in May
Oh,
2023?
yeah, I remember.
Well, she was wearing this stunning, pale, beige kimono.
hmm
And it was a three-mon homonji kimono, which has so much meaning packed into those words.
Yeah, so first you've got the mon. Think of them like family crests, kind of like coats of arms you might find in Europe.
Okay, and I remember reading that the number of mon on a kimono is really important. It's not just random, is it?
We're exactly right. It can range from 0 to 5. If there's 1, it's usually right in the center of the back around the neck area. But with Princess Kiko's kimono, there were 3 mon, 1 on the back, and then 1 on each sleeve. And then a 5-mon kimono, the most formal kind, would also have 2 more on the front of each sleeve near the shoulders.
So the three mons definitely signals that it's a pretty formal occasion. And then there's that word, homongi. What's that all about?
Homongi literally means visiting kimono. It's the type of formal kimono that a married woman wears to really important social events. So right away, Princess Kiko wearing a homongi to King Charles's coronation, it tells you just how significant that event was.
And it's not just the style of the mon, but the patterns on her kimono were full of meaning too, right?
Absolutely. They said the patterns were all about spring and like year-round celebration, which brings us to one of the most fascinating things about kimono, the language of seasonal patterns.
Oh, I love that. So it's like they've got a whole calendar woven right into the fabric.
Exactly. You see different patterns popping up depending on the season, and each one comes with a ton of symbolism. Like take the pine, for example, or matsu as they call it in Japanese.
Okay.
It's evergreen, right? So it stays green all year round, which makes it this powerful symbol of long life, resilience, and like wisdom that comes with age.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the evergreen is a metaphor for those enduring qualities.
Hmm.
And what about bamboo? I always associate that with being really strong, but also flexible.
Oh, you're spot on there. Bamboo, or teak, is known for exactly that. Strength, flexibility, and how fast it grows. So it symbolizes all those things. Strength, flexibility, and even prosperity. But here's a little tidbit for you. If you just see bamboo leaves in a design, it shifts a bit. It becomes more about being calm and tranquil.
Wow, that's so interesting. So much meaning packed into those tiny details.
Yeah.
And then there are plum blossoms. I mean, those are like the classic symbol of spring in Japan, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, they totally are. They call them nadose in Japanese. The plum blossom is like this joyful announcement that spring is on its way. They even call it the flower of peace. And traditionally, people believe they could ward off evil spirits. So it's about vigor, good health, new beginnings, and this kind of delicate, beautiful elegance.
It's amazing how such a small flower can hold so much meaning. Now, another flower I think of when it comes to Japan is the chrysanthemum, kiku.
Yes, the chrysanthemum. It holds a super special place in Japanese culture. It represents long life and rejuvenation, just like the pine. But maybe even more importantly, it's the symbol of the imperial family. It's on their official seal and everything. So when you see a chrysanthemum on a garment, especially a formal one, it's like a statement of national identity and heritage.
So it being on Princess Kiko's kimono, that would have been a really powerful image. You also mentioned this pattern called shippo, which sounded really cool.
Yeah, shippo is really beautiful. It's made of these overlapping circles that create a continuous pattern. You can see it as either flower petals or like interconnected stars, depending on your perspective. What's really cool is that it represents the 7 treasures of Buddhism: gold, silver, pearls, coral crystal, agate, and lapis lazuli. It's like this symbol of harmony and good relationships.
Wow, that's such a lovely sentiment to express, especially at an international event like the coronation. And what are those designs that include mist or fog. I think it's called egasumi in Japanese.
Oh, yeah. When you see Igasumi like mist or fog around flowers or other motifs, it's often meant to evoke a spring morning, that kind of soft, ethereal beauty. It just adds another layer of depth to the seasonal imagery on the kimono.
It's like deciphering a secret code, but instead of words, it's these beautiful images. Okay, now let's move on to the obi, that wide sash that's such a prominent part of the kimono. You mentioned that Princess Kiko's obi had some interesting patterns as well.
Right. Hers had the karakusa pattern, which is like a scrolling vine, and it was woven into those shippo circles we were talking about. And there were some subtle chrysanthemums in there too. So again, you see that connection to the imperial family.
And the Karakusa pattern itself, that's actually not originally from Japan, right?
You got it. Historians think it started in ancient Greece or Rome and traveled along the Silk Road, first to China, and then eventually it made its way to Japan where it became super popular.
Wow, so that pattern has traveled across continents and centuries.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, maybe Princess Kiko choosing that pattern was a kind of subtle nod to King Charles since Prince Philip had Greek royal ancestry.
Oh, yeah. That's a really interesting thought. I mean, the karakusa is a really common pattern in Japan, but knowing its origins and the context of the coronation, it could have definitely been a discrete gesture of cultural understanding and shared history.
It's those subtle details, those layers of meaning that make this whole silent language so fascinating. Now, you pointed out something about how Princess Kiko wore her obi age, which is that scarf-like thing worn above the obi.
Yes, it was tucked in so you could barely see it. That way of wearing the obi age is considered really stylish and elegant for a married woman.
And the placement of the obijin, that decorative cord you tie over the obi, that tells you something about whether the woman is married or not, too.
Sure. You know it. Traditionally, for a married woman, the obijima is placed halfway down the obi or a bit lower. Unmarried women wear it higher up, above the middle. It's a tiny detail, but if you know kimono etiquette, it speaks volumes.
It's incredible how every single element, right down to the smallest detail, contributes to the overall message.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom out a little bit and talk about how the kimono and this language we've been exploring have evolved over time. It's got a history spanning over 1,000 years.
It really does. And early on, color itself was the primary language of the kimono. This focus on color came from Buddhist philosophy, which believed that color was essential to creation. So getting the right colors and layering them harmoniously was super important.
You talked about the Junihito from the Heian period. That sounded really elaborate and symbolic.
Yeah, the Junihito, which actually has a more formal name, Kurajunumo, is often translated as the 12-layered unlined robe. But that doesn't quite capture it. They called it 12 layers, but some court ladies wore up to 40 layers of these amazingly colored silk robes. Imagine that, 40 layers.
40 layers. That's mind-blowing. It must have been so heavy it makes sense why you often see them depicted reclining.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the way they used color back then was so regulated.
Tell me more about that.
It wasn't just about the colors themselves, but how they combined them, how they layered them, and how it reflected the season, the occasion, and the person's social status. It was really strict. Wearing the wrong color or the wrong combination of colors, well, that could have been a big social faux pas. There's even that story in the tale of Genji where this young prince complains about having to wear a certain shade of green because of his rank. He thinks that's why he's so unlucky.
I love that story. It shows how seriously people took color. Did those strict rules and fashions stay the same throughout history, or did they change and evolve?
Fashion always changes, even in kimono. There was a time when women wore the kosode, which is an earlier form of the kimono with shorter sleeves, draped over their heads in the style called katsugi. And sometimes even restrictions on fashion can lead to new ideas, like those sumptuary laws that limited what people from different social classes could wear sometimes, that actually spark innovation in design. For example, there's the Komon style, with those intricate repeating patterns that, from a distance, might look like one solid color. Some people think that style developed partly as a way to get around those rules, but still express some individuality.
It's like the saying, necessity is the mother of invention, but in fashion. You also mentioned something really interesting about men's haori, those traditional jackets. They have these hidden secrets.
Ah, yes, the linings of men's haori. Think about this. Wealthy merchants during the Edo period, they would hire artists to create these super elaborate and beautiful linings using the finest silks with all these intricate designs. They might have scenes from famous stories, mythology, or even like playful images, but on the outside. The haori would look simple and understated, maybe in black, indigo, or brown. But then in certain situations, like at a bathhouse or a private party, they could subtly reveal that stunning lining. It was like a secret way to show off their wealth and good taste, but only to those who knew what to look for.
A secret language woven into the fabric, just for a select few. I love that. So when did the kimono as we see today really start to take shape?
Well, the kimono as we recognize it today, that look really became established in the mid to late Edo period. A lot of the trends back then were influenced by kabuki theater and also this sophisticated aesthetic called iki that came from the geisha districts. That's also when the wide obi that we see today became popular. And around 1823, the taiko musubi knot, that's that square knot with the drum shape on the back, that started becoming popular too.
So the world of kabuki and geisha really shaped how we see the kimono today. That's so cool. What about more modern times? You mentioned Taisho purple and how Art Nouveau influenced kimono design.
Yeah, the Taisho era, especially the 1920s, was a time of some really interesting changes in kimono fashion. Taisho purple, which is this specific shade of purple, became super trendy because it wasn't reserved only for royalty anymore. And you started to see a little bit of Western influence creeping in, like women would sometimes wear hats, gloves, or even muffs with their kimono.
That's like a fusion of Eastern and Western styles. And Art Nouveau, with its flowing lines and nature-inspired designs, that also had an impact.
Absolutely. Art Nouveau started mixing with traditional Japanese patterns, which created this beautiful blend of aesthetics. And there were these omoshirogara kimono, meaning amusing or interesting patterns. These were designs that reflected modern life, with scenes of busy cities, new inventions, and even events related to the war. It was a time of real creativity and even social commentary expressed through kimono.
So the kimono was kind of a reflection of all the changes happening at the time. That's fascinating. You also mentioned that the red lining and the long sleeves on married women's kimonos became less common after World War II.
Right. The red lining, which had been around for a long time, symbolized good luck and was also practical for warmth. It kind of faded out after the war, and those super long sleeves on married women's kimonos gradually became shorter. These shifts often mirror bigger societal changes, economic factors, and how cultural norms evolve.
And after the war, you said kimono schools played a really big role. What did they do exactly?
Well, after World War II, Western clothing, yufuku, became what people wore every day for dangi. So kimono schools became crucial for preserving kimono knowledge. Before that, how to wear a kimono correctly, how to make it, all those symbolic meanings, that knowledge was passed down through families, mostly from mothers to daughters. But with everyone wearing Western clothes, fewer women were learning about kimono at home. So these schools stepped in to make sure that knowledge didn't disappear.
So they were basically the guardians of kimono tradition. But it sounds like even with the schools, wearing a kimono every day became less and less common.
Unfortunately, yeah. The kimono kind of went from being commonplace to being something special you'd only wear for certain occasions. And over time, a lot of the knowledge got lost. People forgot how to put one on, how they were made, all those intricate details. Today, a lot of Japanese people can't even dress themselves in a kimono.
That's a huge cultural shift. But you said that the kimono is still the only national dress in Japan that some people wear every day.
Yeah,
Who are these people keeping the tradition alive?
that's right. You'll still see people wearing kimono for important events like weddings, graduations, things like that. And of course, geisha are super important for keeping kimono traditions alive. They're the experts, and they really help to preserve the beauty and artistry of the kimono.
So even though most people don't wear them every day, there's still a lot of pride in seeing someone in a kimono.
Oh, absolutely. Even if they can't put one on themselves, a lot of Japanese people get really excited when they see someone wearing a kimono. It's like this special connection to their heritage. And there's this really cool thing happening now. Younger generations are getting more and more interested in kimono. They're bringing new ideas and styles to this ancient tradition.
That's so wonderful to hear. It's a perfect blend of respect for tradition and modern creativity.
Yeah.
You know, for our listeners who are totally fascinated by all this, there are ways to experience kimono culture firsthand, right?
Totally. If you ever get to go to Japan, there are some incredible ways to immerse yourself in the world of kimono. For instance, at the Hotel Shinzanso in Tokyo, you can get dressed up in a kimono and have a professional photo shoot in their amazing Japanese gardens. And they have a kimono stylist there to help you with everything.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing.
Mhm.
Are there other ways to experience kimono culture?
Oh, tons. In Asakusa, which is this historic district in Tokyo, there are places where you can rent a high-quality kimono from a traditional silk weaver and just walk around exploring the area. It's like stepping back in time. And then if you go to Kyoto, which is like the heart of traditional Japan. You can have this amazing experience where you get dressed in a gorgeous silk kimono, they do your hair in a traditional style, and then you get your picture taken in the garden of a machiya, one of those old wooden townhouses.
Kyoto would be the perfect place for that.
Yeah.
What if you want to learn about how kimonos are actually made?
Oh, there are places for that too. In Kyoto, you can visit Miyake-kuge, which is a workshop where they make hand-painted uchikake, which are those incredibly ornate wedding kimonos. You can see firsthand how much skill and artistry goes into making them. And in Kanazawa, another city known for traditional crafts, you can visit this atelier called Yuzen Kukan Kobo Hisetsune. They've actually made kimonos for the imperial family, and they offer this amazing silk painting experience where you can learn the techniques yourself.
It sounds like there's something for everyone, whether you want to wear a kimono, learn about its history, or even try making one. It really makes you think about what it means to make that choice, to wear a kimono.
Exactly. It's not just about putting on a piece of clothing. When you wear a kimono, whether it's for a special occasion or even more regularly, and there are more and more people doing that, now you're basically wearing a piece of art with 1,000 years of history behind it, and you're communicating in this silent but really powerful way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of the kimono, the big takeaway is this. It's so much more than just clothes. It's a tapestry of history, social status, personal expression, and even those subtle cultural connections.
Exactly. Every detail matters, from the color you choose to the pattern you wear to even the way you tie your obi. It all adds up to create this fascinating silent language.
And with that in mind, it really makes you wonder, what other things in our everyday lives might have hidden stories and deeper meanings just waiting to be discovered?